You sit down to learn something new. You watch the tutorial twice. You take neat, colorful notes. You nod along the whole time. Then a week later, you try to actually do it. And your hands freeze. The information is gone. The confidence is gone. You tell yourself you must be a slow learner. You are not. Your brain is doing exactly what it was built to do. The problem is that almost nobody teaches you how to work with it. Most people learn in a way that feels productive but barely sticks. There is a faster way, and it is not a trick or a hack. It is a small shift in how you practice, and it can genuinely cut your learning time in half. Here's what is actually happening in your brain when you learn a new skill. Every skill, whether it is guitar, coding, a language, or a sport, is a physical pattern in your brain. Neurons that fire together start to wire together into a stronger circuit. The more clearly and often that circuit fires, the faster and smoother the skill becomes. That is the whole game. You are not filling a bucket with facts. You are carving a trail through a forest, one step at a time. And that changes everything about how you should practice. Most people learn by re-exposure. They re-watch, reread, and re-highlight. Your brain sees familiar information and thinks, yes, I know this. But recognizing something is not the same as being able to do it. That gap is where most learners get stuck for months. So here is the first shift that doubles your speed. Stop trying to put information in. Start trying to pull it out. The moment you try to recall or perform something from memory, your brain lights up in a completely different way. It has to rebuild the trail instead of just walking past it. That effort is what actually strengthens the circuit. Researchers often call this active recall or retrieval practice, and it is one of the most consistent findings in learning science. The technique is simple. After you watch, read, or study something, close it. Then, from memory, try to explain it out loud or write down the key idea in your own words. If it is a physical skill, put the tutorial away and try the move without looking. You will feel clumsy and slow, and that is the point. That struggle is the sound of your brain actually building the skill. Now, most people quit right there because it feels harder than rereading. But here's the reframe that changes everything. Difficulty is not a sign that learning is failing. Difficulty is the signal that learning is working. Easy practice feels great and does almost nothing. Slightly uncomfortable practice feels awkward and does almost everything. If it never feels a little hard, you are not really learning, you are reviewing. Once you accept that, the second shift becomes obvious. The second shift is about how you spread your practice out. Most people cram. They sit down for 3 hours on Saturday and try to conquer the whole thing. By Wednesday, most of it is gone. Your brain treats a long, one-time push as a short-term problem. It solves it, then quietly clears the desk. But when you practice the same skill in shorter sessions across several days, something different happens. Each time the memory starts to fade a little, and each time you pull it back, the circuit gets a bit stronger. This is often called spaced practice, and it is one of the closest things to a real superpower in learning. Here's a simple way to use it. Instead of one long session, break your practice into shorter chunks over several days. 20 to 30 focused minutes, 4 or 5 times a week, will almost always beat one giant weekend session. The total time can be smaller. The result will be bigger. That is not magic. That is just working with the way your memory actually behaves. And this is where most people go wrong. They confuse time spent with progress made. 3 hours on the couch with a tutorial playing is not 3 hours of learning. 30 focused minutes of trying, failing, and adjusting is worth more than an entire lazy afternoon. Your brain does not reward hours. It rewards attention. Which brings us to the third shift, and this is the one almost nobody was taught. Your brain learns fastest from feedback, not from repetition. Repeating something wrong 100 times does not make you good at it. It just makes you very consistent at being wrong. To learn any skill twice as fast, you need a tight feedback loop. That means every practice attempt should quickly tell you whether you did it right or not. For a language, that might be speaking a sentence and checking it against a native example. For code, it is running the program and seeing where it breaks. For a sport, it might be filming yourself and watching the replay. The faster the feedback, the faster your brain corrects. The longer the delay, the more it drifts. If you are practicing without feedback, you are not really practicing. You are just performing. And here is a small trick that quietly makes a huge difference. Slow down on purpose in the early stages. Most beginners try to go fast because fast feels like progress. But fast, sloppy practice bakes in bad patterns that take months to unlearn later. Slow, clean practice builds a clean circuit the first time. Once the circuit is clean, speed shows up almost on its own. Slow is not the opposite of fast. Slow is how you earn fast. Now let us talk about focus, because none of this works without it. Your brain cannot build a strong pattern out of a scattered signal. If your phone is buzzing, your tabs are open, and your mind is drifting, the practice never quite lands. You will spend an hour and get about 10 minutes of real learning out of it. So before every practice session, do one small thing. Remove one distraction. Put the phone in another room. Close the extra tabs. Turn off the second screen. You do not need a perfect environment. You just need a slightly cleaner one than yesterday. Small friction against distraction adds up to enormous focus over a week. Here's another shift that speeds everything up, and it feels almost too simple. Teach it before you have mastered it. The moment you try to explain a new idea to someone else, even out loud to an empty room, your brain has to organize what it actually understands. Gaps that were hidden while reading suddenly become obvious. You realize you know the words but not the meaning. You realize you can copy the move but not choose when to use it. Teaching turns fuzzy knowledge into sharp knowledge, fast. You do not need a real audience. Talk to a wall, a pet, a camera, or a note in your phone. The act of putting it into your own words is what does the work. If you cannot explain it simply, you have not learned it yet, and now you know exactly where to look. There is one more piece almost nobody talks about, and it might be the most important of all. Sleep is not the pause between learning sessions. Sleep is where a big part of the learning actually happens. While you sleep, your brain replays the patterns you practiced during the day and quietly strengthens them. That is why a skill you struggled with last night sometimes feels smoother in the morning. You did not just rest. Your brain rehearsed for you. So if you are learning something new, do not sacrifice sleep to squeeze in more practice. You will trade a small amount of extra study for a large amount of lost consolidation. Short practice plus solid sleep beats long practice plus poor sleep almost every time. This is why late-night cramming feels productive and fades so fast. You are working hard and undoing that same work in the same night. Now let us put it all together into something you can actually use tomorrow. Pick the skill you want to learn. Break it into small, specific pieces you can practice in short sessions. Every session, try to perform or recall for memory first, then check. Keep the sessions short and spread them across the week. Build in fast feedback so you know quickly what to fix. Practice slowly and cleanly before you try to go fast. Explain what you learned in your own words at the end of each session. And protect your sleep like it is part of the training, because it is. That is the entire system. There are no secret shortcuts hidden inside it. But when you stack these habits together, something quietly powerful happens. You stop needing motivation to learn because progress becomes visible. You stop dreading practice because it starts to feel like a game you are winning. You stop believing you are a slow learner because the evidence starts telling a different story. If any of this has ever felt like you, sitting there wondering why nothing sticks, you are not alone. Most of us were taught to study by rereading and hoping. Nobody sat us down and told us how our own brain actually learns. Now you know. And you can start using it the very next time you sit down to practice. You do not need a bigger brain. You do not need more hours. You need cleaner practice, spaced out, with fast feedback, honest effort, and real sleep. That is the shift from someone who studies hard to someone who actually gets good. And once you feel it, you do not go back. Skills that used to take you months start showing up in weeks. Ideas that used to slip away start staying. You start trusting yourself as a learner again. And here's the quiet truth underneath all of it. Speed in learning does not come from working harder than everyone else. It comes from wasting less of the work you already do. Every read you replace with a recall, you gain time. Every cram session you break into smaller pieces, you gain retention. Every blind rep you replace with a rep plus feedback, you gain accuracy. Every late night you trade for real sleep, you gain consolidation. None of those changes feel dramatic on any single day. But stack them across a month and the difference is enormous. That is how people who look like fast learners are actually built. They are not smarter than you. They are just wasting less of their own effort. And now you know exactly how to stop wasting yours. If this helps something click for you, consider subscribing so the next lesson finds you when you need it. Leave a comment with the skill you are working on right now so we can cheer each other on. And if you want to go deeper, keep watching because the next video breaks down exactly how to design a practice session that builds a skill in half the time. Your brain is ready. You always had the wiring. Now you have the map. Go use it.